The frozen tundra.
The hills. The weather.
You guys, it's finally here. The moment we've all been waiting for. Or, well, at least I've been waiting for. This, you guys, is my 5-month update of being car free. Let's get into this. If this is your first time here and you're wondering why the heck I clicked on this video, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Trish and I do active lifestyle and beauty content here on YouTube. And today's video is going to be my 5-month update on being car free. We do, because of the active lifestyle portion of this, we do ride our electric bikes everywhere. And we are an active lifestyle family. I do have 3 teenagers at home that live with me. I guess that's what at home means. I do have 1 teenager that has already moved out, but I mean, I have 3 at home with me. Okay, enough of all that. Anyway, everybody that lives in this house with me is an active lifestyle person. We are a biking family. We use our electric bikes and we bike everywhere. And we have for 5 months. So I have made up a list and I've gone around and asked everybody in my house what they think of being a biking family or a car-free family. So I've made a list of pros, I've made a list of cons, of course, because you know, there's going to be some bad in there too. And I've actually done some numbers for you guys, comparing the cost of being car-free versus the cost of riding an electric bike. Now, I also am in this going to tell you if I think biking is for everybody. Electric biking specifically, you know, if you are a cyclist and you don't own an electric bike, a lot of these numbers are not going to be applicable to you, and a lot of the cons are not going to be applicable to you. So without further ado, after this very long introduction, let's go ahead and get into the pros of being car-free.
Tell me 2 things you like and 2 things you dislike about the car-free lifestyle.
You can get really happy when you finish going on a bike ride and you're forced to work out.
So these are going to be in no particular order. You guys, I did go around and I asked my family members what some of the pros were of biking, and some of the ones that they said are going to be:
I like saving money on my car insurance by not having any.
You save money on gas and car insurance. And you guys, that is a big one. When I get into the numbers later, you will see how big that actually is. But there are other ways that we save money as well, because if you guys have not seen our bikes, you know, well, if you guys have seen the bike video, you will know that we have plastic crates on the back of our bikes. So everything that we buy has to fit in those plastic crates or some form of a way that we can carry it. Everything we buy, we have to be able to carry. So that really does cut down on groceries, that cuts down on extra stuff that we shop for, because we have to carry everything home. We don't have a huge trunk just to, you know, put bags in. We have to be very conscious of the fact that just because it fits in the shopping cart doesn't mean it's going to fit on our bikes or on our backs. So that is actually another way that we have saved money, and shockingly, it's not as bad as it seems, but it is a good perk for that. It does make you think twice about purchases. Another obvious pro to being car-free is the fact that you get exercise and sunshine. This is really important to me as a mom, because a lot of kids sit there so much on their phones, mine included, and they are forced to put those phones down and go outside and spend time outside. Now, it's not always sunshine.
The weather.
And you'll find out later in this video, or you've already seen it, that the weather is a big con for my family for biking.
The frozen tundra of winter, and the winter never stops. You know, it's kind of like Game of Thrones, winter is coming, but it keeps coming and coming and coming.
But it does force them to get fresh air and sunshine, and it's not something that I have to ask them to do. If they want to go to the store with us, they have to get fresh air and sunshine. If they want to, you know, go to the store by themselves, they have to get fresh air and sunshine. So it is something that makes me very happy as a mom that my kids get outside so much. The other thing that is a big pro for my family specific, and this might not be applicable to you, is we did acclimate to the weather up here very quickly. If you guys don't know, 5 months ago, we did move from South Carolina to Illinois.
Is where we moved to is like the frozen tundra of winter.
Now, South Carolina obviously has very warm weather, and Illinois obviously for the last 5 months has had very cold weather down to like negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been cold because I'm in northern Illinois. And I really thought when we moved up here, this was going to be a big issue because we moved up here in November. But you guys, we acclimated to the weather so quickly because we are outside all the time. And that actually has really helped us. I think if we had to like go from a car to a house and house to car to store, that way, and we would have stayed warm the whole time, we would have froze up here essentially. But because we had to be out in the elements, it's not so bad. We acclimated very, very quickly to the weather up here. A pro for me, but you'll also see this in the con list, is going to be the fact that you have to plan out your day. You are forced to slow down and plan out your day. You cannot just grab keys and run out the door.
So we have to always gear up, and it takes like extra few minutes to get ready to go. You can't just like hop in and go and sit in the car. You gotta like throw on like 40 layers, and then you gotta put on more layers on top of that. You gotta have your headgear on. You know, you gotta have your goggles on that people like make fun of you for.
That store trip is going to take so much longer, so it does minimize the amount of store trips we do take, but it also, me and my husband have coffee every morning and we'll sit there and be like, do we need to go anywhere today? If it's yes, we'll be like, okay, so when can you take time off work for us to do this? And that has been very game-changing for us, because before we would just jump in the car and waste lots and lots of gas just running to a store. Oh, we forgot this, and running back. We can't afford to forget things, because even going 2 miles up to Target usually ends up being at least an hour trip. So it does force you to slow down and plan, which is a pro for me, but also a con. Now, some of the fun ones that are pros for biking is traffic isn't really an issue. Like, I can't tell you how many times that me and my husband fly by like traffic jams and everything else in the bike lanes, and we're just laughing, especially because our interstate to cross the Mississippi into Davenport does happen to have a bike lane. So when the traffic is backed up along the interstate, we're just flying by on our bikes. It makes me smile. That is definitely a pro. You don't have to deal with traffic. There's a lot less road rage when you're riding a bike. And the shortcuts that cars can't take. I do have a cycler app that gives me all the bikes, all the parks that I can drive through, like hiking trails or biking trails, I guess I should say, that we can take as opposed to main roads.
You can actually go places other cars can't. You can zip through and like you can take shortcuts, and you can get places kind of faster on a bike than you can in a car.
My mom comes to visit and she will ride down to Target in her car, whereas me and my family will get on our bikes and ride down there, and a lot of times we will beat her down there just because we can take shortcuts and she has to deal with traffic and we don't. So that is a big pro for us. Of course, we're gonna go for better for the environment. That's just obvious. I don't have to explain that. I'm not going to go into it much, but if we're listing pros, I'm going to say that, right? Okay. Bikes can be moved inside. This is a major pro, you guys. Again, I don't know if you watch the weather or not, but up here in Illinois, we've been having tornadoes. And I have seen so many trash cans and trees fall on cars because they are parked outside and there's really no place to put them. Obviously, if you have a garage, you could bring them indoors, but our bikes, we can just carry inside and they're safe in our house with us. So we don't have to worry about our mode of transportation, like, getting stolen or trees falling on it. It does make it's a peace of mind. You're not losing your mode of transportation because of a natural disaster or something you can't control. And my favorite one, just because it's funny to me for a pro, is that you always get close parking. If you guys live in a bike town, you know the bike racks are always at the front of the store, so you never have to park and walk, which is a good thing because if you biked there, chances are your legs might be slightly sore. So that's always a good thing as well. So those are some pros that me and my family have discussed of being a, car-free family. Let's go ahead and jump on into those cons because I think the list is just as long.
Okay, so tell me 2 things you like and 2 things you dislike about the car-free lifestyle.
Going the hills is really annoying,
Okay.
especially because I have to pedal so much. And then it's cold.
The worst, and this even tops weather for me personally, not for my kids, but for me personally, this tops weather. And getting ready takes forever. As I said with a pro, it does force you to plan out your day because it does take a long time to get ready to go, especially in the winter time.
All the layers you have to put on when it's cold outside.
When you have to put on your thermals, and then you have to put on, your insulated pants, and then you have to put on your thermal shirt, and then a hoodie, and then your bike jacket, and then your gloves, and then your ski masks, and your hat. It takes a while. It is not grabbing keys and running out the door. Now in the summertime, I'm expecting this to change. I haven't really done bike life in the summertime, so I can't comment on that right now. I might, if you guys are interested, do a year update going forward. But for now, it's only ever been cold, and man, it takes forever. My mom actually laughed when she came down here because she was like, okay, let's run to Target. And I'm like, cool. And she sits there on the couch, and an hour later, we are ready to go. That's an exaggeration because everybody was going to Target, and of course, as many people is going, it kind of takes longer. So I will say that is a major con. There is no running out the door. It just doesn't happen, at least in the wintertime. The next one is going to be the obvious one, the weather.
The weather.
The frozen tundra.
It's cold.
So obviously, you guys, it snows. It rains. There's tornadoes. There is wind, which I think honestly wind might be the worst of them all. But you do have to go out and all that. If you need to leave the house, you have to go out and all that. And you're not sitting in a car like watching this through the window. You are out in that weather. Yeah, it's taken a little bit to get used to, but we are kind of used to that now. I actually posted a funny short of me riding my bike in the snow, pulling a sink along behind me because we're just used to that at this point in time. But I will tell you, when you first start being out in the weather all the time, this is going to be one of those things that you're just like, oh my God, it's raining, I can't go anywhere. You just have to get out there. So that is a major con as well. Another one is the inconvenience of it because you do have to plan. We did move up here and there are stuff that we wanted to get, like our new kitchen sink. I had to pull that along behind my bike. You do have to plan. But at the same time, it's not so bad. When we bought a new TV, I ordered it from Best Buy. They delivered it to my doorstep same day, no extra charge, and I didn't have to think about getting that home. So it can be an inconvenience, but only if you let it, because there are ways around everything you can think of, basically. Another big one for us is going to be the cost of the bike maintenance. Now, if you are a cyclist and you ride a normal bike, you can do a lot of that maintenance yourself. But when you are talking about electrical bikes, and you're talking about the wires, and you're talking about the battery, and you're talking about the controller, it's expensive, and it's expensive to find somebody that will work on that bike. As you will see coming up with my cost analysis, it does get expensive if you have to have an electric bike worked on. Also, the parts for it are going to be more expensive. It's expensive. The upkeep is expensive for it. There's also the getting somewhere is not a viable option. and this is a major con. My son's phone fell off of his bike and it got ran over by a car, and he used a store phone to call us and then stood outside in negative 10-degree weather and waited for us to come get him. He was not dressed appropriately for the weather because he had just run out for a moment, but because he couldn't figure out his way to get home and he didn't have his Google maps to get there, I will say that those moments right there are the ones where you're like, okay, so if there's an emergency, but every time that we've had an emergency over the past 5 months, we've had a way to do it. Whether it's Uber, whether it's, running out the door very quickly and maybe not dressing appropriately for the weather and definitely regretting it later, but it just getting ready quickly isn't viable. So if there is an emergency, you might want to think about that before the emergency is upon you, so you have an idea for it. Some of the smaller things that are cons is the roadkill and the smells. You guys, if you were driving by a garbage truck and your car and you smell that slight smell, let me tell you, when you're driving by it and you're on a bike, it smells 100 times worse. And you get to see dead animals up close and personal, not through the front windshield of your car or the side. You get to see them right there. So that is also definitely a con for me personally as an animal lover. This next con is maybe going to annoy some of you guys, and I understand that. Please, I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but other people is definitely a con, and other people's ideas are definitely a con as well. When we first went to a bike-free lifestyle, everybody couldn't really understand why. And I understand that to a point because a lot of the people that I talked to or I told that we were doing, a car-free lifestyle, I think I said bike-free before. The people that were saying that they thought it was a stupid idea, a lot of these people lived in the suburbs. In the suburbs of the US, if you are overseas, then most of this is not going to be applicable for you. But if you live in the US and you live in the suburbs or a small town, just biking is not a feasible option at all, and I will get into that a little bit later as well. But the people that I told that lived in the suburbs, and they were like, this is not going to work, what are you going to do about this and this and this, and just the negativity of other people, and it kind of gets into your head if you let it. So my advice to you would be try it out before you tell anybody that you are going to go for this lifestyle. That way, when you tell people that, you have something to say when they're like, well, what are you gonna do in an emergency? What are you gonna do when it snows? Just make sure you have something to tell them, and understand also that people are only going to understand you from their point of view. They are not going to be able to see your point of view. And sometimes you're just going to have to go against the grain and be like, okay, well, this is what we're doing, whether, you think it's a good idea or not. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit, but I will say right now that if you live in the suburbs of the US or a small town, this is not going to be a viable option for you. We started the bike-free lifestyle when we moved up here. We are literally in the middle of 4 cities together. It's called the Quad City area, but we are literally in the middle of 4 cities. And we have everything within a distance, and we have public transportation we can use, and it is not like it takes us a while to get anywhere. We're not in the country, we're not in a small town, we're not in the suburbs. If you are in any of those, like where we lived before in South Carolina, we were in a very small town, and our town didn't even have a Walmart. Our closest Walmart was a 20-minute car ride. So if we needed to get somewhere, we had to drive. Biking was not going to be a feasible option there. So I understand that this is not going to be for everybody, especially, if you're not living in a bike-friendly spot as well. Because even if you're living in a big city and it's not bike-friendly, that's not exactly safe for you to bike in either. So keep that in mind. I'm not pressing this lifestyle on anybody. I understand completely if you're like, well, that doesn't work for me. Trust me, I know, because I'm going to be 41 here soon, and for the, first 40 years of my life, I only used a car. I never really biked. Even as a kid, I never really biked. So there is that to consider. And now for the moment you have all been waiting for. The numbers. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So I compared January of 2022 with January of 2023 and February of 2022 to February of 2023 because of course we drove. Now we also lived in a small town, so when you're looking at the gas prices, just know that this is all going to be subjective. These are my actual numbers, and depending on where you live, this is all going to be subjective. I'm just telling you my personal numbers here. So in January of 2022, when we were driving a car, our car insurance was $250.26 a month. That never changes, and we did have 2 vehicles, okay? So that doesn't change throughout, but I will be repeating that just because I'm reading from a sheet. But gas, we spent $243.53 in the month of January for a total of car expenses being $493.79. Also in this, I'm not taking into account the price of the car or the price of the bikes, just because we already had those during these months. So we didn't have a car payment and I don't have a bike payment, so that's not taken into account. January of this year, we did not pay any gas. We did pay $4 in transportation charges. We have a great bus system where we live, where we pay $1 and we can literally take the bus around the whole town if we wanted to. So me and my husband and my 2 daughters decided to take the bus one day when it was raining as opposed to riding our bikes. So that was $4, $1 for each of us. The electricity, because we do have electric bikes and we do have to plug them in. We have always had electric bikes here in this house, so I'm guessing that our electricity bill is between $20 and $30. For the purpose of this, I'm saying we pay about $20 a month to charge our bikes with our house. You know, it's about the price of maybe running a refrigerator. It's not so bad, and that is 5 electric bikes. If you think that that's wrong, you're more than welcome to do these numbers on your own, raising that or lowering that, however you want to do that. Again, these are my personal numbers here. But I'm going to say that $20 a month is what we spend in electricity to charge our bikes. Bike maintenance, my husband did ride his bike over a nail and he did have to get a new bike tire. It was a back bike tire, and that is where the motor is, so that does cost more. So we took it to the shop to get it done, and that was $36.69. And my son did come to visit, so we did pay for his gas. Oh, I said we didn't spend any money in gas. Well, we didn't spend any money in gas for that car, whatever. But gas for my son's car was $20.11. So also, and I'm kind of counting this, even though we had one, but I had to replace it. This is a replacement part. We had to buy a new bike lock because going over a bump, my bike lock fell out of the back. So that was $18.99 for a total of $99.79 for January of this year is what we spent on our bike, our upkeep, our electricity, just everything in general. So $493.79 to $99.79. That's a huge difference. But wait, because next month, in February of 2022, the car insurance was the same at $250.26. We did have maintenance on our cars. I don't know if this was an oil change, if this was like a tune-up or what it was, but it was $149.16. And then gas for February, I guess we didn't go very many places, but it was $126.85. So in February, for the car, we spent $526.27 in 2022. February, I had to rent a car. Now, I did use my airline points to rent the car, so the car in and of itself is free, or was free, but we did have to pay for gas and we did have to pay for insurance because we don't currently have car insurance. So when we rent a car, we pay for the full coverage insurance. So keep that in mind for this. But the gas for the rental car was $107.74. The insurance for the rental car was $91. And then we did take the bus once, me and my husband. It was $2 for a dollar for my husband, a dollar for me, and that was to take the bus to the rental car place and from the rental car place. Electric, of course, was $20. Bike maintenance. We did get new handlebars for our bike, and we did have to have our brakes adjusted. So sit down, here we go. It was $226.71 for our bike maintenance for the month of February 2023. So in total, in February, we spent $447.45, which is still less than the $526.27 that we spent the year before on our car, but not by much. So there is that. Okay, hopefully it didn't change too much. My camera overheated, but moving on to March 2022, car insurance, of course, was $250.26 and gas was $204.63. March 2023, electricity holding strong at $20. And bike maintenance was $18. My husband had to have his derailleur adjusted, so that is it. So for March 2023, our total for the month was $38 in expenses. So real quick, over 3 months, in 2022, we spent $1,474.95, and over 3 months in 2023 for a bike, or our e-bikes, we spent $585.24. So those are some of the numbers that we got, some of the pros and cons, and you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it, doing the research, looking at the numbers. Oh my gosh, I was telling my husband these numbers and he was so excited that our costs went so far down. Even when we had to rent a car and, you know, drive somewhere that way, even having to pay for that gas, it was still less than us owning a car. So, I mean, just something to consider. So that is all I have for you guys today. If you have any specific questions on electric bikes, go ahead and leave them down below. I will answer what I can. You guys, I am not like e-bike friendly here. I can ride my e-bike, but working on it, I might not be able to give you the answer you need, but I will answer any questions I can. And if you have any questions specific to, you know, why we are e-biking that I did not answer in the video, go ahead and leave them down below and I will answer what I can. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you would like, comment, and subscribe for definitely more active lifestyle content, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.